So welcome back to the Chase Payne podcast. We've got a fun one today. We're joined by Cameron Gray, elite CrossFit athlete, one of the most analytical competitors in the game. He is, shall I say, the new Brent Fikowski. It's a big name to follow, Cam, but he was
Yeah,
also
I
a
know it
stato.
is. Yeah,
So
I'm proud to follow that name.
I bet you are. I bet you are.
Yeah.
And we've also got, and thanks for coming, Brian Friend today, CrossFit commentator and part of the World Fitness Project, who has seen the sport from every angle. And it'd be great to get his insight on some topics we're discussing today. Before we crack on, though, guys.
Not quite every angle. You know, I've never been out there in lane 5 final heat of a big competition, but close.
That's a good point. You know what? How do you think they feel when they're in lane 5 in that final heat and they're like, I need these points to win over the comp? How does that feel out there? Cam, tell us.
Well, yeah, I was in lane 5 at Mode Classic, but I guess it's a bit different for me. I didn't have a shot at first or second, but there was that chance at the podium, and I beat the two guys I needed to beat, but it ended up being other heats for me that ended up getting between. So, but it was very cool. I loved being in the final heat.
How did you get nervous?
Not really, actually. No, I don't think I was. I didn't actually get nervous probably at all. Like, I was honestly just there for the experience, so I didn't put a ton of pressure on myself.
Fair play.
Yeah.
He was probably more nervous about whether he was going to sleep through the hours of 1 to 5 a.m. or not every night.
Yeah, that was it. I was more nervous about setting my circadian rhythm, and I didn't end up being able to do that.
I would like to just give an honourable mention to Pat Velner, who made a statement yesterday. I think it's good to start with that. It's his final year, or so he says. We've heard what happened before with different people saying it's their final year, then it happens. You know, but no, what an absolute legend, fantastic career. And I really hope this year is going to be a big year for him. Although knowing Pat, he's going to go out there, send it and leave it all out on the line. And yeah, I know, just thoughts on that, Brian. Were you expecting that this year?
Yeah, I had spoken to Pat, and I kind of thought that this was what he was kind of alluding to, even if he didn't say it directly, towards the end of last season. You know, I've said it before, you know, it's like there's an argument to be made that Pat's, despite never winning the CrossFit Games, that Pat is the third best one to ever do this sport. When you actually think about the consistent pursuit of excellence, like this is a guy who has been relevant in podium contention for a decade straight as the sport has grown out of the Froning era through the Fraser era and into this new era where there's, you know, 7 guys that are 28 years old and younger. The oldest of them is 8 years younger than him, that are, you know, threats at every competition. And he still managed to find a podium last year at WFP Tours Top 2, making 10 straight years that he's done that since he broke into the scene in 2016. And you know what? Sometimes the second best guy to ever done it just happens to be in the same era as the best guy that's ever done it. And that's just how it goes. I still think you have to give Froning and Fraser those top 2 spots. But if you wanted to make a case for Velner to be the third best ever at this point, I think that there's a strong case to be made.
That is a big statement. You've started this podcast with a huge statement there. Absolutely huge. I mean, I think there could be a separate podcast just on that debate because it's a really good one. And I think it is definitely someone who wins it once and then you don't see much again, or someone like Pat that is Mr. Consistent. And you always know he's always spoken about in every comp, every event. He's always there. And you know what else I like about Pat? He is contagious with every athlete that I see, and I only watch it from the media. But the young guys, the old guys, males, females, he is so well thought of with everyone. And that is a skill in itself to kind of grow old with the competition, but also get respect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think
that makes sense.
It's one of the things that when you have the debate about like the greatest of all time and you're talking about Froning versus Fraser, you know, a lot of times the impact on the sport that Froning had is something that gets thrown into the conversation, which is, you know, and sometimes in that case you say, well, it's a matter of timing. Like he came at a time where we needed somebody to be that face, to be that inspiration for the next generation. And Fraser certainly inspired people, but he didn't open his own affiliate. He didn't start this big thing. Like when he was competing, he was focused on competing and almost nothing else. And so he wasn't quite as personable. Both of them obviously able to express that through excellence. I think what Pat Velner has shown us is kind of the in-between where he can be great. I mean, yes, he hasn't won the CrossFit Games, but this guy's won multiple Rogue Invitationals, multiple Wadapaloozas. He's got second place his only time in Dubai in a year where it was, a stacked field, came down to the wire against Fikowski, and he's won semifinals, etc. And he's been this guy that's still, he hasn't owned an affiliate, but he's been there for the community. He's leaned into the community. He's tried to create things with the PFAA. So he's kind of thread the needle in the middle of being great on the floor and great off the floor.
Yeah, he's definitely created that. He's wanted to support the CrossFit scene, promote the brand. And you mentioned Matt Fraser there. He locked himself away in his dungeon and did what he had to do. There's an argument to say, is he great for CrossFit? Because actually he didn't really promote it like others did. But he is an all-round legend and he is an animal and he is, in my eyes, a number one. But Cam, I don't know if you watched Brian and JR set out the top 100 male and female. I really enjoyed that conversation. Very impressed by the numbers, and I enjoyed backward and forth with Brian and JR. It was a great cinematic TV. How are you going to get in that top 100, Cam? For Brian to get you in that top 100, what have you got to do? And I'm going to pass the same question to Brian. What has he got to do? But Cam first, should you be in the top 100? And two, what can you do to get there?
Well, besides a bribe, if it means actually getting fitter, I'm going to have to train a little bit more than I am right now. But no, I mean, I don't deserve to be in the top 100 right now. Absolutely not. I think when you say like top 100, a lot of people it almost like doesn't sound like it would be that hard to get into. It's like, 100's a lot of people, but with the amount of taking this so seriously that are, training like 6 hours a day and everyone has like a top coach, like it's really tough, if you to get to that level, because there are so many people who are doing all of the right things.
Yeah, it makes sense. Brian, why is he not in the top 100?
Well, I mean, the first big challenge with the athletes from the Oceanic region is that they don't compete very often outside of Oceania. Cam took the initiative to come to Mode Classic a couple months ago and put his name in the ring with guys that he doesn't get to compete against very often. And this is honestly pretty rare. Like if you're not of the caliber where you can make it to the CrossFit Games and do well at the CrossFit Games so that you can get invited to things like Rogue or direct invites to Wadapalooza, then the path to getting to those international competitions is very difficult. The spots in Oceanic region are very small. So most of these guys will compete in Torian Pro, Down Under, and maybe the New Zealand Nationals, which is up to 3, and each of those is like less and less relevant in terms of me trying to assess how good they are against people they've never competed against. So, then you start to see guys like Ben Fowler. Well, Ben Fowler has gone to Madrid. He's gone to Dubai. He competed at the Crucible. He competed at UAE Storm Games. So now I can see him against European athletes primarily, a couple maybe from North America that trickle into those fields, and get a sense where the 5th through 8th best guys, because that's kind of where Ben falls. He's not in the top 3. He's just outside of qualification, and he's in a mix with a few other guys that are in my mind is like, these are top 100 guys in the world, but they never compete against the other 90, athletes that or 120 athletes that I would consider for this. And then if you look at Cam, and he's not in that group yet. He's not in the 5 through 8 range in Oceania. He's in probably the next group of 20 or so guys that, depending on a given weekend, can slot in there. And that group, there's no way I can consider them for it, because there are too many men in North America and Europe that are competing on a regular basis against each other that have also shown, by and large, to be better than the 5th through 8th place guys in Oceania, with maybe a couple exceptions here and there.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I think Cam's fully aware of that as well. I'd thought it was a quite fun question to ask with Cam, although he's actually just popped off now. He's going to pop back on in a second. Here he is.
Oh,
Welcome
sorry,
back, Cam.
bloody Australian internet.
You missed everything. Basically, Brian said you're
I'm
just not good
devastated.
enough, mate.
Yeah, I understand. That's fair.
He said
I'll
he
take it.
highlighted all your weaknesses, mate. It was bang out of order. I'm not lying.
Yeah.
No, he explained it very well, but I won't bore you with it, mate. You can listen back to that later.
I will.
I do want to. I want to move on. So Brian, you were at the Crucible a couple of weeks ago. Cam, I'm not too sure if you watched any of the Crucible, but
No.
I watched it on YouTube and I enjoyed the events. Before I get into it, from my point of view, the standards there, they were very, very, very strict, and the dips, the pull-ups, the strict press. From your point of view, Brian, how does that differ to what we're used to seeing at WFP with the standards? Because it was fully strict. And I know it was a slower range of movement, but what are your thoughts on the kind of, the rules and regulations they had for those movements?
Well, I would say that I don't want to compare it just directly to WFP. I think that it's fair actually to compare this to pretty much all other fitness competitions that are out there, because the biggest difference is actually the preparation. So they announced the workouts and the standards 10 months ahead of time. Then they had mandatory meetings for their judges, 4 different sets of these prior to competition week that they had to attend and go through training on. They also, communicated via written and video to all the athletes prior so that people could watch those videos, read that text. And then the day before the competition, the judges did a full walkthrough as an athlete, once as an athlete with one of the other judges judging them, and then role reversal for both the qualifier workouts, the 3 of them that were consecutive, and then also the final set of 5 workouts that was consecutive. And so the main thing that they were able to achieve is actually something that head judges all around the world are striving to achieve. They're just not set up for it in the same way. And that's to bring the level of judging to a uniform place. I've had it said to me this way before by a very, very well-respected and high-level head judge in the space. On a given weekend at a competition that I'm in charge of, I have people that I would rate as a 9 out of 10 in terms of a judge globally. And I have people who are doing this for the first time. And I need to get them all to a 7. So I can't have my 9s judging at a 9 if the rest of the field is judging at a 6. I need to try to find that sweet spot because ultimately what we really want is that in every lane you're getting the same expression. Now that's very difficult to do. Optimally, they're all at a 10, of course, but you have to be realistic. And the judges who've been around for a long time will realize I got to look at the total pool of judges that I'm given for this weekend and try to find the sweet spot where they can all express the same level of consistency from a judging perspective. If you don't have the cooperation of the competition, then that's extremely difficult. So the competitions need to integrate with whatever judging team they're having. And in this case, the Crucible did that. I would contend better than any other competition I've ever seen.
I think you're right. And I think with the longevity that they gave themselves to prepare for that, that's the key element here. And I feel as though all competitions can look at that and definitely learn from it. But on the other side of the scale, they've done all that preparation for 10 months. And I was talking to Reggie Fasher about this on Tuesday. No matter how much we prepare, there will always be human error. And Reggie went through a few of those no reps with the dips. And to be fair, he took it as like, it's just part of judging. If you're going to enter a competition, you need to know that there's going to be mistakes that are going to happen. And I think people highlight no reps or highlight problems with judging without realizing we are only human. And these things are going to happen in every single competition. But what they did do really well, and Cam, I'll ask you this, is 10 weeks of preparation put them into a position to give them as much opportunity to have a 7 or 8 out of 10 judge, which is obviously, how do you see that would correlate or overlap into CrossFit or WFP or High Rocks? How would you see could that even happen in that game because of the unknown and unknowable?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can definitely improve. Like, if we use that as a benchmark, like to work towards, you know, there's definitely like room for improvement. And like from an athlete's perspective, the complaint always with judging will always come about like, yeah, my judge judged me like this, and this athlete got away doing the same thing. Like, that's where the biggest complaint is. It's not even that if all the judges, yeah, as Brian said, if all the judges are really good or all the judges are average, if they're all the same, then the athletes actually don't normally have a lot to complain about. It's normally, if just one athlete gets away with a thing that you don't get away with, then that's when it's frustrating. But in terms of like the preparation, I think having, the regular movements that we see in a lot of competitions, like, be standardized and be announced well ahead of time is a really good idea. With the unknown and unknowable, I don't say there's not as much that you can do besides being extremely clear in the brief for that workout for the athletes on the day or whenever it's announced. If there's a workout that is being announced the day of the competition or the day before the competition, then the brief needs to be really good, needs to be really clear, and the judges need to be prepared ahead of time, of course, as well.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that definitely comes back to there are a set range of movements for CrossFitters in general. At an event, there are going to be this range of 30 movements that are going to be used over the 3 or 4 days, and the judges need to be prepped for those movements specifically. Whether the
Yeah.
athletes are told is another story, but the judges do need to be told, because that's where they get the practice and they build up that, dare I say it, confidence to know rep an elite athlete, which also comes into it. Because when you're stood there and you are a part-time athlete, helper at a CrossFit box, and you're now in this big event judging, it's really hard to actually step up and go, yeah, I'm going to no rep you. That's quite a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a really good point. But the movement standards at the Crucible were probably as strict as I've ever seen. And I think they did their best to make it work, as much as all athletes still weren't happy. And that's the point I'm making. No matter how much prep you put into it, there's always going to be unhappy athletes. Brian, do you think there's ever going to be a stage where we'll be moving away from humans as judges and going towards the AI route? And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know that I played European football for 25 years, and I've used to
Yeah.
coach for 10 years as well, and I've seen the efforts in that world with the VAR and the subsequent pros and cons that come out of using
And the
that.
problems that's come with it, all the problems that's come with it.
There's some positive things that have come out of it, and there's some negative things, and I feel like that is probably going to be true no matter what when it comes to certain things. And in this particular case of the sport of fitness, I think it's much more difficult to implement something like that because the variables are so extreme. In soccer, it's inbounds or it's out of bounds. It's over the goal line or it's not. And those things are not disputable when you use the VAR. But the things that are disputable was it an intentional handball? That's a human call. You have to have the ability for someone in real time to make that call. And I was actually thinking about the example of soccer anyway, because, if you go to a top level soccer game and you watch the speed of play, it's insane. That's what's missing right now in our sport, is that we have judges that are qualified to judge the best athletes in the world, because it's the same reality. These athletes are moving so fast and intentionally cutting the margins so small. Half of the athletes at the best standard in the world know that their optimal squat for a volume of squats is to go a centimeter below parallel every single time, and they know exactly what that feels like.
And
And
that's hard to do.
the other half are going to bottom it out every time because they're different style of athletes. But the judge needs to be prepared for both. And I've had judges who have judged at the highest level that have told me, I stopped judging because I can no longer keep up with the speed of the best athletes in the sport. What the sport needs to recognize is that if you want to have judges who can, you need to adopt what every other sport has adopted, which is professional judges that are actually vetted, qualified and prepared to judge the best in the world. This doesn't have to be at every competition, but at the best competitions with the biggest prize money, sponsor endorsements, TV, broadcasting, that we want other people who don't know the sport to watch. If you're not prepared to put the best judges out there with the best athletes, then you're going to pay for that at some point.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's a debate I had a few weeks ago on the pod, and it was about, in soccer, football, you have linesmen and referees that are professional. That is their job and they get paid to do it. Whereas CrossFit is a community and people call it a sport. And of course it is. But at the same time, if it isn't going to be regulated by people that are paid as judges, referees in my eyes, then those standards will never be where they need to be at the elite competitions, where there is a lot of money on the line, life-changing money that people have been training for all year. So no, yeah, totally agree. I've got a question, Cam. Question for you, buddy.
Go for
it. Live competitions. Okay. I want to kind of talk about what dictates a live competition, and I want to get it from an athlete's perspective, from your perspective, and then from Brian's, a commentator and an analyst. So what's the most important thing to you, Cam? You're going to an event. With regards to the programming, what matters most? Is it the integrity of the pure fitness test, or is it more actually, we want it to be good for the viewers, we want it to be an experience as an athlete, because you get some real fun workouts, right, that you absolutely love to do, but other ones maybe are more machines or more basic, but they might be a better test. So what would you prefer? Something that is more of a pure fitness test, or something that's more fun and more viewable for the experience of the viewer?
Well, I'm really glad you asked that question because I'm obsessed with programming myself. I actually just ran like a comp myself like 2 weeks ago. So both of those factors are really important to consider. And I don't think that any one comp should be all in on either. You shouldn't be like all in on viewership or all in on, the pure fitness test. You need to have elements of both. And it is still possible to create a well-rounded test that is good to watch. And it doesn't have to be one or the other. But from the athlete's perspective, it depends on how serious the comp is, really. If you're doing like a relatively small comp and, there's not a ton of money on the line, then having, a comp that has a little bit more of those fun workouts can be more desirable to the athlete. But if I was competing at a semi-finals event, like for me as an athlete, I really don't care about how fun the workout is to do. Like I want, it to be a well-rounded test. So like I want to feel like it was a fair test of fitness at the end of the competition. And at that level, it's just, for me personally, like how it looks to the crowd, I don't care about as an athlete. I know that's different for the people programming and running the event. They want there to be a spectacle. But from the athlete's perspective, for a high-level event, I think most people just want it to feel like it was a fair test.
Yeah, fair enough. Well explained, buddy. Appreciate that. If we're looking at the Crucible event, that was basically lanes of 10 doing the same movement and moving on, having a little break. I watched 2 or 3 rounds, and I watched people I wanted to watch, but after that I was quite bored, and it wasn't great spectacle from a viewer's point of view. But I love the tests, and what I think WFP have done, Brian, and watching the lights, I really enjoyed that. The change of color when they come out, it felt more like an event at times at the WFP, the tour stops, and I felt as though they did a lot for the athletes. When they come running out, their names being called with everyone celebrating each other. I thought they've got that really, really right. From your point of view, Brian, what's the most important thing, or do you think is most important when it comes to a large event? Is it the viewers? Is it the athletes competing in the event to crown the fittest person? What are your thoughts on that?
A friend of mine told me one time that, he views it in this way. I have the athletes and I have the stage that I put them on. and that without the stage, the athletes won't come, and if there aren't any athletes, then no one will come. So you need to be conscious of both. I think that, but again, this is his perspective, and I think that as a competition organizer, whether you're organizing a local comp in your own gym back home or one on the biggest stage, what's most important is to know who you are. So, what the Crucible was doing and what WFP are doing are two different things.
Two different things, yeah.
The Crucible understands that having 10 people statically in a spot doing a deadlift, doing a dip, doing a bike, doing a strict press is not dramatic. It's cool, and you can look at the names that filter to the top, and we can see that those are the fittest guys and girls, but they weren't trying to put on a show. Not at the stage of WFP. They were trying to find the ultimate athlete. So they both know who they are, and they're expressing it through that. So if I was giving advice to a competition organizer, it would say, get honest with yourself about what you're trying to do here, and then answer that question based on your identity.
Yeah, agreed. And I guess it comes back to as well, everything. The smaller events may not be as much of a business for local competitions. For the bigger events, of course, it is also a business. So we've also got to think about sponsorship obligations. Does that mean there's going to be more machines? Because if Rogue are going to sponsor it, they want all their machines on show. So is that why there's a high percentage of machines being used or certain pieces of equipment? And then we've got to take into account where they're going to want people to, like football and soccer stadiums, there's going to be 30, 40, 100,000 people watching it because there's going to be a spectacle put on each week. And here at a competition, people are either paying their money or watching it online or on TV, and they're expecting to see something exciting. Otherwise, they're not going to watch. So without the people watching this show, and it is a show, ultimately, there won't be an event. So it really is a tough, what I'm highlighting here is such a tough challenge for event organisers. So good luck, Cam, with your event.
No, my event did happen. My event is over 2 weeks ago.
Oh, it did happen.
Yeah,
Sorry.
No. It is tough.
Future events.
Yeah, next year.
I mean, also looking back in history of the, last 10 years of the games, I would say it's definitely peaked and then come down the mountain because, again, the viewership is not as high. I don't think the workouts were as spectacular. Dare I say it, we went through a phase of athletes that weren't as inspiring, whereas now we have got a nice bunch of athletes that are creating drama and creating content, and everyone wants to see them perform. But I do feel as though, I hope we go back to filling out stadiums and getting that viewership back where it should be in all areas of fitness. I mean, with that, really. Can you highlight any head-to-head moments that you remember, Cam, from watching the games, or any elite events that you remember that sticks in your mind? You're like, yeah, that was an incredible moment, and the viewership was there, and the stadium was there, and it was that moment as like, wow, this is why I do it. Is there any moments you recall yourself that you've watched or been part of?
There's always those few specific really famous moments that hooked you in. For me personally, if you talk about events, when the games did the obstacle course events, I thought that was so cool. I just
Pat
love
Velner
that.
fell from the top.
Yeah, it did. And Matt and Pat fell. I've watched that so many times, and that's unfortunate for them, but for the spectacle, it's really good. And watching something like that. And if you want to be top level sport, you need to have the spectacle at the games. If we want the sport to grow, it has to be. And I've seen it strive away, of course. Now if we're doing all of the events inside, it's a lot harder to make to make a spectacle out of it and to get those moments. But I'm hoping it goes back the other direction, and we kind of climb back to what it used to be.
Yeah, for sure. Brian, can you recall a WFP moment where you thought, this came together nicely. This is exactly what I was hoping to achieve and what I wanted to be part of at an event or a tour stop?
WFP, I mean, I think probably the best thing that comes to mind immediately is just the snatch off between Guy and Tudor at the finals.
Yeah,
Like,
wow, that was
and
great.
you can't write a script like that. Like, you can create the stage and giving them the 8 minutes and the window to lift, but I don't think that anyone was really expecting them both to lift. Was it over 150 kilos each? And like, to have
Yeah,
one guy do
151,
that would be
153.
yeah, to have one guy do that is like breaking barriers for our sport. To have two guys do it back to back within 30 seconds at the end of that interval in that setting that you talked about with all of the cacophony from European crowd, the lights. I mean, that was dramatic. And then I would also say that the sort of sprinty style workouts that Will programs with the lunge, finish, the sled push, and an echo bike, like these kind of 4Bs or whatever they were, where you're just, that it's only going to be like a 2-minute workout and you're going to have several guys
Yeah.
finishing within 5 seconds. If you can be clever and include a relevant test over the course of the weekend like that, you're always going to get those close finishes, which is fun to see.
Yeah, agreed. I actually made a reel on one of those close finishes off the Echo bike, and it was called Jetty Legs, and it went viral, over 1 million views, and it was one of them reels that everyone still just getting shared now everywhere. But it was a great event, and just seeing people send the Echo bike and get off, and they just cannot walk. I know, Cam, you've got one of the best videos of you getting off the
Yeah.
Echo bike, and the run is the best run. It's like
Dude.
Baywatch in slow motion.
Yeah, I got like 3 of them. Like the 3 worst moments where my legs didn't work were all from Echo Bike Sprint. It's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. I think the best thing I ever done was buy an Echo bike 4 years ago, because I managed to sit on it on a regular basis. And if you make yourself do those ugly things, it becomes the norm. So I tried to get in the pain cave, and I switch the music on, set the challenge, and let's go. Although I will make a confession. I announced this the other day, is that I've been too scared to do a certain workout. And I should have done it 2 weeks ago, but I was ill. But the 50-calorie Echo Bike Challenge, I've never done it. And I've always been too scared to do it. I've done 30 calories a few times. But the reason why it scares me so much is because when I hit the 30 calories and I'm on the floor for an hour after, I've got to do 20 calories more. And I just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can. My legs don't work, dude. I don't know.
No. I've done that workout, I think, like 3 or 4 times. And
Wow.
the first.
Can I borrow one of your times and I can say it was mine?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first time I ever did it was like probably 5 years ago. And it took, I think it was like a minute 10 or a minute 15. And that was the one that hurt the most. Since then I've gotten quicker and it hasn't hurt as much. But the first time it was awful, because you just sprint. You put like 100% effort in for over a minute straight. And there's like no pacing. Well, there wasn't for me anyway. And it was like an hour on the ground, literally like an hour. Like my legs did not work. It was terrible. I thought I was going to get rhabdo for sure. I didn't. And then since then, last time I did it was like 37 seconds, and the pain is still excruciating. But it was only like 20 minutes on the floor after that attempt. So it's
37 seconds for 50 calories is incredible. My 30 calories took, the best I did was 31 seconds for 30.
Yeah. The faster you go, the less it hurts.
Of course. But
it's true.
It sounds easy, Cam. It's not. It doesn't work like that, because we know the lactic acid, the build-up, the struggle.
It's so true. It's the same with Fran. If you watch like an affiliate class do Fran, you'll see that at a certain point, it's about maybe the 3-minute mark. Anyone who's still going, it just gets worse and worse the longer it goes, because you've passed that threshold.
Yep, I agree that the most painful Fran I ever did was like 5 or 6 minutes. And then as soon as I got under 3 minutes, it's like, oh, that doesn't actually really hurt at all.
So my introduction to CrossFit 5 years ago, a friend of mine introduced me to CrossFit. I was in a bit of a dark place, and I was, turned 40, and I was just like not fit. I used to be a soccer player, so, I used to be really fit. And just, you have kids, and you kind of get lost in this translation of life and work and bringing your kids up. And then you're 40, and I just was a bit of a dark place. Anyway, he said, look, let's go do a bit of CrossFit together. He just sent me a workout, and he sent me Fran. And And I just went to the gym. I had no idea what I was doing. And it was just, okay, what are these thruster things? Stuck the weight on the bar. And I literally, know what, just got straight into Fran, 21 thrusters, and my pull-ups were strict. And it took me 12 and a half minutes. No joke. And it beat me to a pulp. I was doing singles on the thrusters. I wasn't getting depth. I had no idea what I was doing. People in the gym were looking at me going, who is this? What is he doing? And I finished it. I made sure I finished it. And I stopped my watch. I looked at it and said, right, that's my benchmark for me going forward now. And that was always in my mind. So I did it a couple of times. It ended up, I think it was, I want to say 340 and ended up doing a couple of years ago. Haven't done it since. But it's just, yeah, you want to find a workout that you can push yourself on. And Fran is definitely one
Chase,
of
you're
them.
gonna have to do it again, because my best time is 3:39. It just so happens.
Is it really?
Oh.
I'm definitely doing it again. I'm right. See that fire in my tummy? You've just lit it, mate. That's good. That's given me the push I needed. So, Cam, I've got to beat 37 cows for the Echo Bike. No chance. But, Brian, I think I can take that on. I'm going to take it on. In fact, I'm going to do it live on my story just for you. So you can watch the pain. But no, it's cool. What about the evolution of CrossFit? This really, I like this conversation. So it's fair to say early CrossFit, inexperience, I'm talking at the infancy, it was all about just send it and survive. There was no, what I would call, if you watch the old YouTube videos back, there was no real pacing strategies. There was no rep math. No one was thinking about their heart rate control. No one was thinking about pacing transitions or what time they're pulling on the row. Sustainable output. Cam, you are the stats man, okay? I just want to get a little introduction to this from you, really. How do you feel the evolution of CrossFit has changed, and why, over the last few years? Because it really has got technical now, hasn't it?
You know, my answer might be a little bit different to what you think, but it appears like it's gotten a lot more technical than what it has, but how far it still has so much further to go than how far it has come.
Okay.
Absolutely. So when you do look at these little like technical aspects, like there are still plenty of high level athletes who have a very vague plan going into a workout. You know, they go based off feel, plenty. And I think that will change like more and more over time. But yeah, of course it has been a very big jump. You know, when people first started CrossFit, like like fitness racing wasn't really a thing. You know, if you look at any other kind of race, like cycling or running, it's very simple to like pace yourself and have a strategy. You know, it's not very complicated to figure out compared to CrossFit. And now you've got you've got 4 different movements that none of them are movements that have been, regularly like tested or before. So like figuring out like how to pace and how to strategize a workout is a lot more complicated. And that's why I still think it has a really long way to go. But the reason why it will keep on changing is because, any sport is about like maximizing your performance within like the given rule set, and having better strategy pretty much just means you're increasing your performance without actually having to get fitter. And people will continue to try to what seems like cutting corners or taking advantage of what they can without brute forcing it, really. So it'll continue to evolve.
Yeah, interesting, very interesting. Brian, from your point of view, do you think fans appreciate strategy more, or do they just want to see chaos? Do they want to see people rip it, burn, fly and die? What do they really want, the fans? What do you think?
It depends how many beers they've had. I actually think that maybe you're both underselling a little bit. It's not everyone, but there are athletes that have had the concept of maximizing efficiency from the origins of the sport. I think that the first games champion, actually James Fitzgerald, he opened up a seminar I went to of his that said the pacer always wins. And he was, he didn't win any workouts that year, but he won the games, and he had a pretty good understanding if you go back and study what he was doing and his results on the .com leaderboard and the practice he was doing in Western Canada prior to the games even existing. He was very cerebral before most other athletes were. If you read the post, because we started by talking about Pat Velner on this show, if you read the post that Brent Fikowski put up about Pat Velner, he makes a lot of subtle notations in there that I think young athletes should definitely be taking awareness of. And one of those is if you get a chance to watch what him and Michelle Letendre do in the back and how critical and focused they are in preparing for every time he takes the floor. I already mentioned it. This is a guy who's been relevant in podium conversations at the biggest level, at the highest level for 10 years. You cannot accidentally do that. You might be good enough to do it for a couple years, but you can't do it for a decade with the sport constantly growing, younger athletes coming in, unless you're extremely good at this. And I think that there are guys out there like Brent and Pat and James that have become better than they should have because they were willing to be more analytical than the majority of their competitors over their career.
Yeah, you want to make the point that the amount of video footage and information there is now out there for the younger athletes to learn about pacing, about strategy. There is so much more now than what there was previously 10, 15 years ago. Everyone's talking about CrossFit, WFP, High Rocks, DecaFit, and everyone's talking about strategies. I've been involved in 2 conversations today online just about different strategies if burpees and thrusters does come up in the open on Thursday. So I feel that really
nice
these
little
guys can
warm
become,
welcome this year. Burpees and thrusters in week 1.
yeah, something new.
Oh,
But for me, athletes, the point I'm making, athletes can become experienced at the age of 18, 19, 20 just by doing the research and putting their time and effort in the training room, in the pain cave, and listening to podcasts, researching. There's so much people can get now, whereas before I felt it was people went out there and just
Well, and
cracked on.
even in addition to that, if you're 18 years old and you're found out that you're good at this, you can also put people around you who've been doing this for 18 years now, because
Yeah.
there are people that have been around that long, as long as you've been
Yeah.
alive. And so if you have the potential, the willingness to learn and listen, and you put yourself in those settings with people who have studied all of that and are constantly keeping up with it, yeah, you can be in a totally different place than the Sam Quants and the Yonakoskis that were showing up to the games when they were 19 years old were at.
Yeah. Agreed.
mm.
So again, Cam, fitness IQ, I'm a massive fan of numbers as well. I'm nowhere near where you are with them and the levels and grids and tables that you present. I do it more just for myself and my pacing. I've got my notepad. I enjoy that side of it. That's part of my workout and my offload for my day, for my working day. I go in there and I like to work things out. And if there's a workout, I try and plan it if I can. But how much IQ is there in fitness these days? So if 2 athletes have equal engine, equal strength, how much can knowledge alone improve your placement?
If 2 athletes are like equal fitness,
Yeah.
I mean, firstly, it depends on what the competition is.
Yeah.
But in something like the Open, if you had 2 people with the exact same fitness and one person had never done, a competition before and the other person was perfect, like depending on what the work it is, it can be extremely significant, as in, 5, 10 times as better ranking. Absolutely. It's extremely common, like just in the Open, for an athlete to redo a workout and halve their rank in that workout, just from better strategy. Easily halving the rank, and not very hard at all. Very, very easy with putting in the same amount of effort. Obviously, when you get to a higher level like competition, the amount of spots is different, but it can still also be significant. Like, I think at least like halving your rank is easily an achievable benchmark for just going in the workout without much thought versus having extreme intentionality.
So basically, we are saying here that you can be fitter just by being more clever with how you deliver your workout and how you structure it,
Yeah.
how you plan for that workout. So now it leads me on to the next question that would be, what would be the most important factor in that for you, Cam? Would it be managing transitions rather than strapping your feet in on a rowing machine, for example, or slowing down a bit earlier on the bike so you can get straight to the barbell rather than pushing too hard on the bike so you stood for 20 seconds looking at the barbell? Transitions, braking before failure, not redlining too early, understanding your movement efficiency. One of these, if you could choose one, what would it be the most important that would affect a workout?
All right. As you said, it's very complicated. There are so many factors to consider, and
There are.
the more I learn, the dumber I actually feel. The less I feel like I know. I feel like I know nothing sometimes. But if I had to choose one thing, it would be knowing which movements are going to give you the best time return for the extra effort that you put in.
Okay. More bang for your
So,
buck.
yeah, exactly. So if you think about, probably the easiest, most simple example I could give is, let's say you had a workout that was double unders and echo bike calories. If the first person decides I'm going to go easy on the echo bike and save myself to go as fast as I possibly can on the double unders, and the second person is like, I'm going to relax on the double unders and then sprint the echo bike calories, obviously
They're
the person
fast.
that's pushed the echo bike calories is going to be better. Okay. Because you can make up more time. And that's where I think that's the most important factor to understand. So not all movements are created equal. If you put twice as much effort into this movement, it doesn't mean you're going to go twice as fast. And every single movement is on a spectrum. You're being movements like calories. Calories on the echo bike, actually, out of any movement in CrossFit.
They don't move. Hang on. They don't move.
It does feel that way, but they don't, because
They don't
it's the
move
movement.
unless you're going at a cadence of 100.
Exactly. And that's it. It's because it'll give you, it's the only movement that actually more or less gives a 1:1 return. If you put in twice the energy, you'll go twice as fast. But it works the same way in reverse. If you slow down significantly, how much slower you go is then a bigger gap too. So it works both ways. It's not just make up time, it's also the easiest to lose time. But then, you look at a movement like a wall ball or a double under, you can't really make up or lose that much time. If you're going unbroken and try to go quicker or try to go slower, it's not going to make much of a difference.
Yeah.
And
I get
understanding
that.
which movements do that is probably the most important for strategy, followed by knowing when to hit your transitions and your rests.
Yeah. Brian, you've obviously been at numerous live events, huge events. I'm really interested as to, because I know also decision making under fatigue is a really big part in this as well. To get a good score in a workout, you've got to be clever under fatigue and make good decisions and don't panic. Is there any experiences you've been through watching the elite athletes and you remember a situation where someone literally is absolutely shattered, they're under fatigue, and their decision making has been pretty poor and made an error in a workout and it's ruined their workout? Is there anything you can recollect from your experience?
Oh man. It's like one of those things where you don't really want to mention the athlete and the specific competition by name. I don't want to relive that.
You haven't got to do that. You can just let us know of an experience. I don't mind that.
A lesson that I've learned on the road, and you made a little allusion to it earlier in the conversation, is that the margins are incredibly small in this sport at this moment. In almost every competition that I go to, whether it's the win, podium, last cash, something like that, it's coming down to a point, a pound, a second, a no rep. So these decisions that you're talking about when to push, when you're under fatigue, and when not to push necessarily, they're extremely relevant. I think that where I've seen athletes kind of make the wrong decision that costs them the most is on lifting events. Like, because the format of lifting events can be so strict and you can have such a limited number of attempts, we saw this at the Crucible. Like, there was a guy that just didn't get a single strict press on the board, and it took him from probably a $4,000 payday to zero, just like that. And that's like and he knows it. And I've seen this before. It was Madrid Championships 2023. Like, Ionikowski hit 1 out of 3 clean and jerks. If he had hit like literally a kilo more on his second or third one, instead of going for 10 kilos more, he would have won that competition instead of getting second. So like, I've seen big implications on lifting events more so than anything else. So those are kind of the obvious ones that come to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
fair enough.
very true. I can speak to a little bit what Ryan says about the lifting event. I did down under champs with some mates a couple of years ago, and neither of us were very strong by any means. But our workout required, each of us had 3 scores, 3 lifts to hit for a total of 9 total lifts. And we just we hit all of our lifts, we're 9 for 9. And we ended up getting 5th in that workout. It was our best one. And we were not had top end strength by any means, but all of these top athletes, the games athletes that came down, they had 1 or 2 missed lifts, and it completely cost them the event.
I also really enjoyed watching lifting events. I think they're fantastic, and there is so much ground to be lost or won in those events. So the Arnold Fitness Games, which we were going to talk about on Tuesday, Brian, we had Rick, who is the owner of the Arnold Fitness Games, and we spoke about a couple of the workouts. The first workout, part A, 3-minute EMOM, and it was clean and jerk for weight, and you could change your weight 1 rep for each minute. So you had to make a decision. Now, if you were obviously to hit 3 great weights, brilliant. But if you actually missed, you could start the workout again because it's only a 3-minute EMOM. So it actually gave you that opportunity to do it a few times to get your best score. And I pushed back with Rick about that. I was like, I would rather have that as part B than part A, because part B was Grace times 2. It was 60 clean and jerks for time. So imagine having part A double Grace, and then part B, you've got your 3 max clean and jerks for an 3-minute EMOM. You couldn't go back and redo it, could you? Because there's that jeopardy of, oh God, I've got to do double Grace again. And that one mistake that you would make in that final lift would be, a chance of being top 3 or top 20, because we're missing one whole lift, which is obviously a large amount of weight on the leaderboard.
You know, the other movement that this is absolutely paramount for is long distance handstand walking when there's an unbroken section.
Yeah.
Like there was a year in Dubai where they had a big section at the end of a very, very shoulder intensive workout where you had to like go around some cones and do whatever. And you had to do is basically like, I don't know, 20 meters or 15 meters unbroken, but with some obstacles and stuff. And it was like all or nothing. And you literally saw athletes standing there waiting, trying to decide. And some of them saw people waiting and decided to go and take the risk. And they just plummeted down the leaderboard because they failed again. And they ended up near the bottom of that workout and never finished it. So this all just goes back to really having an understanding. I think Boz refers to it as like expensive reps or something like that, expensive movements or whatever.
Yeah.
So you have to know where the gamble can be made and where it can't be made. And that's a part of doing your homework and understanding the sport.
And I love that part of it. I absolutely love it. I would have loved to have had that part A of the double Grace and part B being the clean and jerks for the 3-minute EMOM, because it just puts real jeopardy in that workout. And I think that's a great thing to watch. We spoke about viewership earlier and enjoying the experience, seeing 4 or 5 people get to the line at different times, looking at each other, who's going to go first, who's feeling sore, who thinks they can go unbroken. I think those moments really create fantastic spectacle for events, something like that. I think that's really, really cool. Okay, Cam, I'm going to ask you a question, big man, and you've got a couple of minutes to think about it, because I'm going to go back to Brian. Okay, this is really important. So,
Okay,
Cam, I do like these discussions. So, what I would like to ask you is, because you are the stats man, can you think of a workout? Okay, you're going to program this workout and it's going to be totally biased towards you. I want you to program a workout. I want you to program a workout that you can beat Jayson Hopper at. You've got 2 minutes, okay, to think about a workout that you could beat Jayson Hopper at. So think about, obviously, his strengths, his weaknesses, what exposes them, what would tilt this in your favor. We're not being disrespectful. It's just a bit of fun. And it's just an opportunity to look at everyone. If you actually play to someone's strengths only and bias towards them, you actually can have a competitive opportunity against the so-called fittest in the world. So you've got 2 minutes, Cam. I want to go to Brian. Brian, you are going to do the same, but against Andrew Hillier. No, I'm joking. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do, I'm going to ask you to do your top 5 UK male CrossFit athletes. Top 5 male UK CrossFit athletes. Obviously, have a little think about it. Not going to throw you straight in the deep end. And while you're doing that, Cam's going, oh my God, what am I going to do here?
He's really fit.
But have a think about it. He really is. But you're also a fit guy as well. So we'll start with Brian whenever you're ready, big man. Top 5 UK CrossFit athletes right now. What are you thinking?
I would, I feel like I'm trying to make sure I'm not forgetting anyone here, but I feel like you definitely got to have Harry Lightfoot at the top. It's really difficult with Reggie because he doesn't do a lot of competitions anymore, but I feel like it's probably Tom Kingdom and then Reggie are probably the next 2 guys. I want to say that Philroy is going to be flirting with the top 5 right now. I mean, we know that the handstand push-ups are a thing, but his fitness outside of that is so good. And then maybe I'm tempted to say someone like Archie Reed, like up and comer, super strong. Seems like he's running out his conditioning. So without looking anything up, those are the 5 guys that come to mind.
You didn't include me in that, mate.
Well, you said top 5. Yeah, you're right. I didn't.
No. Tom Kingdom's doing fantastic. He's absolutely smashing it. He's actually only 20 minutes from here at a local box. Philroy Peters, I had him on the podcast the other day talking about the Arnold Fitness Games. So he's the last year's champion of the Arnold Fitness Games. He's defending it this year. I'm going to go up and visit him and do a pod
what do you
with
think?
him.
What do you think about that Archie Reed pull?
Yeah, it's a big, mate. Fair play to you. You've got your knowledge, but it doesn't surprise me, Brian. It doesn't surprise me.
Is there someone I'm forgetting? I'm looking at my notes here, my list.
I mean,
Toby Buckland, I guess he's technically UK, so he should probably be in there ahead of Philroy and Archie. He doesn't compete locally like those guys do, but I would say he's still from the UK, so he should probably be in there. Yeah.
There are a lot of guys in the local scene that are doing really, really well that you might not know of, but I think from an international point of view that and I know Harry Lightfoot is just an absolute animal, and he's a very, very, I haven't met him, but from what I've seen of him, he's a very funny guy.
By the way, on the backside of this notepad, I wrote down what I think Cam Gray's answer to your question for him is going to be.
Okay. It sounds like a real challenge is on. Now, okay, but before you go, Cam, Brian, what you've written on that notepad, did you write on there whether he'd beat him or not? Beat Jayson Hopper?
I wrote down a workout that I think Cam might say that he could beat Jayson Hopper at.
Wow. Okay. Cam, over to you, big man. The stage is yours. This workout, Cam is saying he can beat Jayson Hopper at.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, mate, I've thought about it a little bit, and it's tough because Jason's really fit and because his body type is very similar to mine too. So there isn't like a really obvious answer to like be able to juke him like at the same height, same weight, more or less. So it's tough. But I think I know what Brian's answer probably is. So the first thing that came to my head is 10 legless rope climbs for time.
Of course.
Yeah, that's the thing I can beat him in. But if I had to make something that's not, a single modality, there might be a few like niche things, but I thought of a workout and it would be for time, 10 dumbbell snatch at the 120, 5 box jump overs at 54 inches and 20 calorie ski.
Did you say 54 inches?
Yeah.
It's his workout, Brian. He can do what he wants.
Yeah, I know.
This is
I
where
mean,
Brian turns over
if-
the bit of paper and it says 54-inch box jumps.
if I have to make something that I reckon I'll definitely get him in that's super specific, that's probably what it would be.
Okay. Well, Cam, what I'm going to do, what you don't know, is I've got Jason Hopper on the other line. I'm going to get him on.
We're gonna do it
No,
right
what
now.
we'll do. Yeah, I think one day we're going to make that happen. Jason Hopper, mate, do you accept the challenge? Okay, Brian, what was written on your bit of paper?
20 legless rope climbs to a
20.
15-foot target.
Oh, 20. Nah,
I'll give you that.
Not
I'll give you
him.
that.
So
yeah.
here's the thing. Cam's exactly right. A lot of the things that Cam is best at are also strengths of Jason's. But I think that the longer that a legless rope climb workout like that goes on, the bigger advantage Cameron will have just because he weighs a little less. So 10, I think
Yeah.
Jason might be right there. 20, I think I would take Cam. And the workout that he mentioned, I love that because that's a much more thoughtful expression of what Cam is very good at and a workout that is totally valid. You know, doing a heavy single arm dumbbell movement with a dynamic box jump and put a machine in there. That's a cool workout. And I think that would be fun to watch them go head to head. 54 inches is crazy. I've never seen anyone do that for more than one rep. So,
Yeah. No, well, my best box jump is 63. So I was like, I know I can do 54 pretty quick.
Sounds good. Can Jason borrow a ladder?
I don't think he needs to. Ugh.
No, he's a big old guy. I actually met, so it's him, Dallin Pepper, Colton Mertens, and a lot of others at FitFest a couple of years ago. They were all great guys, really, really friendly, and put on a great event down there. And they were massive. They were absolutely massive. Yeah. So, Brian, from your point of view, is there a workout that you would want to see programmed at any event that would really cause a lot of jeopardy? So a lot of problems for athletes.
yeah, there's a
Whether it's
workout I've wanted to see programmed for a long time, but it takes you have to have the right setup for it.
Okay.
But it would be basically whatever the field is. Let's say it's 30 at the CrossFit Games. I would want to put them all in a pool, give them a 10-pound weight, and say you're going to tread water while holding this plate above the water for as long as you can. And the order you go out is your order of finish.
Wow, simple as
That's
that.
crazy. I love that.
Cam, how would you get on?
Something that nobody's tested that. Nobody's training for that. But treading water is challenging. You wouldn't want to see them tread water for hours at a time. So give them a plate, force them to only use their legs and their core, catch them off guard. And also I love the aspect of having put them in a circle with a pad underneath where it can register the time as they come off the ground or back to the ground. And you get to see, and you can look into your competitor's eyes. So as it gets less and less, you're like, I'm not putting this down. You can see that. You see this in the game show Survivor when they have to do things for long periods of time, and someone will say hey, I'm not stopping. So you might as well just stop. And you could get moments like this and put cameras on there. So
I absolutely love any elimination style workout. Not even CrossFit workout. Any sporting event that exists that's an elimination style, even if I've never watched the sport, I'll watch it because I think that the elimination style events are so cool. I think Brian's idea is awesome. I've never even heard of that. Holding the plate's a really good idea. But I know Chris Hinshaw had mentioned before about the elimination race, around the track. You just get the whole field on the track. Every lap, one person's eliminated. And you just go until there's one person left. It's such a cool idea for an event.
Yeah, I think Brian's been thinking about that one for a few years. That one came from in the heart. That did, Brian. That means a lot to you. That workout. I like it. Everyone's going to be practicing in the bath now. I will say, so obviously this week's a big open week, Cam. And I know you always do, and you support people that are doing the open with redos on workouts. So it'd be nice just to get a quick little share from you what it is you do and kind of how they can get hold of you.
Yeah. So last year was my first time publicly offering it, but I basically created pacing charts. So people would tell me the score that they would want to get, maybe a little bit of other significant information about movement limitations, and I would create like a custom pacing chart, which would pace them perfectly to get that score. So I'm hoping to do. It was a lot of work. I think I did about 150 of them last year, which was a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping I'll do it again this year because I had good feedback. But what I also do is I create something that I don't really know if I say I invented it myself, but I think I kind of did. What's called like fitness standard charts. So basically, it'll be, if you want to qualify for quarterfinals, you're going to need to aim for this score in this workout. Games athletes will be getting these times. Semi-final athlete will get this time. And it's just like fitness standard posts. That is what probably grew the most for me. So I'll be doing them through open and through quarterfinals. So it gives people honestly a better idea when the open is finished, actually, more than anything, because they can see where exactly they're sitting in each workout rather than just like a rank. You can, visually see, like I'm in the top 5% here, but only in the top 25% here. I'm as fit as a semi-final athlete in this workout.
Yeah.
So I'll be doing those again.
Yeah, I did see you doing a lot of that last year, and there's a lot of people that were commenting and asking for that. So hopefully people will jump on board again this year, and you can help many people qualify for the Open, or at least just try and beat their scores. I'm not one for doing redos, really, if I'm honest. I like to get it one and done, especially if it involves burpees or warbles. So no, I'm a one and done. Brian, if you ever do a workout, do you note it down and do you go, okay, in 6 months' time, I want to beat that score? Are you a kind of note taker?
I used to do that more than I would do that now. If I was doing that now, it would probably be more specific to some kind of test on a machine rather than a benchmark like DT. But yeah, there was a period of time from probably 2018 to 23 where I was very, very aware of certain workouts and my scores on those, and would sometimes even train specifically to try to improve at that stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. Just before we finish, Cam, I'm going to ask you to give us your prediction for the first workout in the Open.
Oh, no. Okay. Oh, this is a tough one to put on the spot.
Dumbbell burpees.
All right, let's say 10-minute AMRAP, ascending ladder. I mean, we've had the burpees the last 2 years, so for the sake of not being repetitive, I'm going to throw them out. I'm going to say box jump over. Let's go box jump over. Dumbbell snatch and pull-ups. That's what I'm going to guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some kind of thing like plus three, box jump over, dumbbell snatch, pull up, 10-minute AMRAP.
Okay. Sounds good. I wouldn't mind that. The workout, I think it's going to be, I think we're going to have a 15-minute AMRAP, and I think it will be a filthy 50 style. I think there'll be 3 movements of 50 reps, and it will be an AMRAP for 15 minutes. Those 3 movements, I think, will be a row machine. I think it will be warbles, and I believe there will be possibly a dumbbell involved as well, but we will see. Brian, thanks so much for joining us today. I know you're a busy man. Really appreciated your time today, and I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. And it'd be lovely to have
why
you
didn't
on,
you why didn't you
future.
ask me about the top 5 women from the UK?
To be fair, I had that noted as our next podcast. I was hoping we'd come on again and then but we can do that. I'm fully up for doing that. Let's go top 5 women, because you've been sat there researching it, haven't you?
No, I was just scared. We can leave it as a teaser for next time. That's up to you.
No, let's go. I'm happy. Let's go, buddy. I'm all ears.
Okay, does Ireland count?
Yes.
Then it's actually very difficult.
Okay.
But I would say that obviously you have Lucy Campbell, Amy Kringle. I would probably say Lucy McGonigal next, Jen Muir, and the 5th spot, probably Ella Wilkinson. But there's it's tough.
There is some big competition there.
Yeah, Holly Tynan, Taylor Howe, Connie Easby. There's definitely a conversation to be had. But it's a strong.
Yeah,
the women's. The reason I want to ask is the women in the UK have been surging, and are very relevant, and I think are only going to be more relevant throughout this calendar year.
Yeah, well, we can definitely keep a close eye on that. And again, it's that element of how many competitions have they taken part in, where have they ended up in the competition, and this year, how much are they going to compete? Hopefully, as much as possible to put Great Britain on the map.
I think that you'll have, some of those athletes in every significant competition. They get, from Wadapalooza to semifinal events to the games to WFP to Rogue, like the women from the UK will absolutely be representing across the totality of what competition that we have available to us.
Yeah, I think Lucy's an absolute beast, by the way.
You're talking about Lucy Campbell, but I am telling you, watch out for Lucy McGonigal. She's got the DNA
she's
that
getting
could be
fit.
great.
Lucy Campbell, I've even with her interviews and how she talks about herself and how she is just so mentally locked in to what she wants to achieve. And she always says how whenever she feels the pain, she loves it and she pushes through it and she thrives on it. And I think you've got to have some sort of mindset to really enjoy that side of it. So we'll definitely keep a close eye on that and see how they're getting on. And yeah, and hopefully, Cam, this year, what kind of, to finish up, what are your goals for the Open, buddy?
For the Open, I don't really have many. I'm just training. I'll be still training, doing double sessions during the Open, still hitting training. But peak for
Nothing
quarterfinals.
changes for you.
Hopefully qualify for Torian. So that's the goal.
Wow, that sounds superb, dude. And I wish you all the best with your qualifying for Torian, and keep putting in the good work. And of course, hopefully you'll enjoy the workout. And what I will make a promise to you, Brian, right now, I will promise you that I will do Fran. I promise you I will beat your time. And Cam, I promise you I will not beat your time on the Echo bike.
But you will do the workout.
For sure. I'm going to do them both live. I am going to do them. I'm going to do them on my story just for a bit of fun, because that's accountability for me. It says, like, I've got to get it done.
You can
putting it off for too long.
You can beat double my time. Beat a minute 14.
1:14. Yeah, I mean, in my head, like, it would be amazing to beat a minute, but I think that minute 15 is more. That's the realistic mark because of that extra 20 calories.
Don't be afraid. Like, go for it from the start and just hang on.
Yeah.
I certainly will. 100%. Trust me, I will definitely do that. I will definitely do that.
A minute is only 100 RPM. So if you get quicker than that, it's less than a minute. Yeah.
Only.
It's easy.
Yeah. But I'm excited to shout out with you guys. Everyone that's been listening or is listening in on the podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. Please follow the Chase Payne podcast on Spotify or YouTube. The YouTube channel is quite new, but the actual Spotify podcast is out there and doing really, really well. And we want to celebrate fitness. We want to have more conversations like this. It's bringing positive vibes to the fitness arena, having good discussions, positive debates, and hopefully sharing positive fitness knowledge, which was from Cam today. It certainly wasn't from me. And Brian, of course. But guys, thank you today. If it would be good, I'd love to share another conversation with you guys later on in the year and reflect on the females and males, the UK athletes, and also Cam, see how you're getting on, big man.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. So thank you so much, and we will see everyone next time on the podcast with Chase Payne. Thanks very much and take care. Good night. Cheers, guys. Okay.